Welcome back to another episode of Finding Flow, the show where we dive into the journeys of leaders, creatives, and change makers who are redefining success on their own terms. Today's guest has spent over 2 decades at the helm of some of the most recognizable retail brands in the world. From JJB Sports to Hugo Boss to Under Armour, he's built high-performing teams, expanded markets across EMEA, and led with a powerful blend of strategy and heart. But for now, he's entering an exciting new chapter. John Greus is the founder of Greus Consulting, a firm dedicated to helping businesses thrive by putting people and performance at the center of everything they do. John, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to Finding Flow. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
No, thanks to you. It's always nice for us to catch up.
100%. It's always good. I suppose let's start with your corporate chapter. You've had such an impressive journey leading retail operations across the globe, from Scotland to the Nordics to Amsterdam. What drew you into retail in the first place?
I guess the first thing to say is thanks for saying it was only 20 years. It made me feel younger already, Carl. Yeah, I mean, I guess, getting into retail in the beginning was a complete accident. I'd spent a lot of my younger youth up to my teens living in Johannesburg in South Africa. So when I returned to Scotland, it was a little bit of an adjustment period. Played the bass guitar, did mechanical engineering at university, hated it with a passion. But what I loved was sport. So I ended up working in a little sports division store company owned by Tom Hunter way back in the 90s. And I loved it. I loved the fact I could sell more than the next person. I got to talk to people and people paid me to speak to people. So it was great. I guess in the end, I never left. I've had a bit of a mixed journey, but I've never left retail. And I think the sole reason being is that connection with people, working with teams and getting to speak to new people every day. That hasn't changed.
Oh, amazing. And what would you say are some of the key lessons you've learned from your time scaling global operations?
I think, I could answer that question in so many ways. We could get down the rabbit hole of technicality and we can talk numbers and profit, property, people, many things.
Yeah.
I think that if you think about where the success comes, I think success really comes from connection. Whether it's the part-timer who works on a Saturday or whether it's a global CEO who's presenting at the moment some really tough numbers globally, right? It's about connection. It's about authenticity. And I think that the biggest thing to overcome, I guess for all of us, even when we start out, when our parents say, don't talk to strangers, and you get into corporate business or working in stores and immediately you need to talk to strangers. It's overcoming fear. I would say that that's one of the biggest things I would say. And that is a daily challenge. It's an adrenaline buzz, if you think about it.
Yeah.
That overcoming fear, whether it's going in a boardroom for the first time or the 25th time and presenting an idea and convincing through connection and being authentic, that for me has been key.
I think that's so powerful, the authenticity part, because I think in today's world, everyone's just trying to appear perfect and everyone's trying to seem perfect, but like being authentic is much easier to say than to do. As you say, like when you're surrounded by strangers, you're meeting strangers, it's difficult to be your authentic self. But I think being able to master that and continue to grow with that is such a powerful thing. And I think we need more people that are authentic. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, people think, being confident is having no fear, but actually you can't control the fear. The trick isn't to eliminate it; it's to kind of learn to dance with it, if you like.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, every great or reasonable decision that I've made in business, every company I've helped transform to some degree, every time I've built teams that actually give a damn about what they do, it requires some bravery because there's a lot of people in the C group in businesses and, they have a really solid idea. Sometimes it's a bit outdated about what they want to do. And you really are dancing with fire when you start to want to make a change on some of those elements. And I've come up against that at numerous occasions in business.
Yeah, very good. And I suppose, what were some of your defining leadership moments for you, let's say at Hugo Boss or Under Armour or any of the any of the roles that you were in?
I guess I would talk about situations rather than companies, just
Yeah,
out of respect for companies.
sure.
I think it's clear the companies I've worked for, so I think the references are up to people to put on to whichever place that might be. I think
Sure.
that's the most respectful way to do it. I
Okay.
think working for certain companies who are more developed than others
Hmm.
presents its challenges because sometimes presenting change to those can be more difficult, especially with bigger companies. There are so many places to get new ideas lost. And I think that's where some companies that mature and are very good companies, I think that's where they lose some ground because, as you know, they say if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. But that's not entirely true. If you do what you've always done, you'll get less than what you got because other people are developing and moving forward. So if you just keep doing what you do, you actually fall backwards very quickly. And some of those companies, they could be better at taking on new ideas and listening to Gen Z and getting all those more relevant connection pieces from that generation. I think with some other companies that are primarily wholesale companies that
Hmm.
are retailers, they're operating in some degree the way they did 20 or 30 years ago. It's a push
Yeah.
model, it's a sell-in model. They're not really
Mhm.
thinking about the long term, regardless of whether they have a good product or not. And what that leads to is a lot of high turnover in people from business,
Yeah.
tarnished reputation, and actually you lose your expertise because you're continually retraining new people. And I think that
Mm.
that's certainly a challenge for some businesses, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And well, I suppose speaking about your people first leadership approach, as you said, it's not just about driving revenue, but developing leaders, aligning teams, and creating cultures of excellence. What does that philosophy look like in practice? So, especially in high pressure environments like global retail, maybe elaborate a bit on that, like how that looks in real life situations.
I guess the one thing to say would be that I'm not easy. There's no blank check for those that remember checks. No, there's no blank checkbook. Emotionally, indeed, I've pushed teams. Sometimes I've expected more from them or as much from them as I'm prepared to put in. And it takes a
Mm.
little bit of understanding and patience on my part that maybe not everybody is as committed and not everybody
Yeah.
is as driven. So I would say that's definitely something to say, that being a people leader is not being someone who's easy. In fact, being a people
Mm.
leader probably can make you seem tougher sometimes because
Yeah.
when you see potential in someone and you want
Mm.
them to realize it, as from our conversations previously, growth is painful.
Mm.
Growth
Mm. Mm.
requires detachment. Sometimes it requires cutting something off to grow something new. And when you're
Yeah.
working with teams and you're working with them on the long term, not just short term in the business, 6 months and leave and take the money and go, you're invested.
Yeah.
And I guess what it looks like is not a bed of roses, not always straightforward. It's life. Life is a challenge. Careers are a challenge. Getting somewhere is challenging. So
Mm.
being a people manager makes you more connected to that. So you're with someone along the journey, many people, and they're all at different levels. So yeah, I mean, leadership, I don't think is something that anyone who really takes it seriously and has done it for a long time will tell you, hey, it's great, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's rewarding for sure. And I wouldn't want to
Mm.
do anything else, but it's not fun sometimes. And,
Yeah.
you really need to be aware of that. I think that's a reality check, I guess. So that's what it looks like in real life for me, anyway, from my perspective.
So, talking about the pivot to entrepreneurship, after a very successful corporate career, you recently made a bold pivot, launching your own venture, consulting. What has inspired you to make this leap?
I guess the one thing to say before we talk about inspiration is that I have been a corporate slave pretty much most of my life.
Mm.
It's been rewarding. I have nothing overly negative to say about it, except I want to make a change. I've been fortunate enough to be given the platform to make a change because of my wife. My wife took a promotion and
Mm.
moved across the Atlantic, and
Mm.
I gave up my corporate career to support hers.
Yeah.
So I guess after some reflection, I wanted to try to avoid some of those traps in the corporate business that you get into. Maybe I touched on a little bit of it earlier about some of the differences you have working with some levels of C group that really have an agenda that's only fixated around money. And I find that my goal, my desire is to coach, to, I guess, share some of my hard-won wisdom from the years, especially for younger corporate executives, very talented younger corporate executives who have an inherent fear. And that fear could be driven around presenting, it could be negotiating, it could be building their own portfolio within a corporate environment. And I think that whilst I've been in situations where every time I've walked into a boardroom, knowing I've done a good job for a company, those nerves, I've seen great people who could revolutionize industries, shrink themselves down because they're afraid of making themselves look foolish.
Yeah.
I really want to take my experience and try and see if any of that hard-won wisdom can help younger executives, people that are making their way in business, rather than try and eliminate that fear, try to learn how to dance with it and use it as a feature rather than a flaw to be able to get to where they want to go. And I think that that's tough for a lot of people. So for me, that means I get the opportunity to exclude the numbers, of which I delivered over many years, double digit, in every environment that I've been in. But instead of focusing on the numbers, I focus on the people, because it's a people business. It's not a retail business, a handbag or a shoe business or a confectionery business. It's a people business. So getting out of the corporate world and trying to drive a consultancy of some sort will allow me to focus on the things that I enjoy. It'll also allow me to focus on those things that I believe will have the biggest benefit to people in business. And I guess the end result will be profitable businesses and all of those things that businesses want in terms of hard numbers. I understand that. But I want to take a different approach, and hopefully this will allow me to do it.
Yeah, I think it makes so much sense. I think you've got a world of wisdom with your experience working in corporate, and I think you've got a lot of value to give to a lot of people. So I think it's a very exciting step, and I'm excited for you. Very, very excited for you. And yeah, I suppose let's talk a bit more about Greus Consulting. Could you elaborate a bit more on the mission behind it?
I guess the mission behind it really is to help businesses, somewhat in the way that I described, in terms of coaching, in terms of direction, but also in terms of operational solutions. I mean, 25, 35 years of working in retail businesses, from a $17 billion business at TQX through to fashion business in Hugo Boss and also some sporting businesses there as well, or lifestyle businesses. I've learned enough along the way, and I've made enough mistakes and seen enough mistakes being made with directions companies going in, that I can definitely offer small and medium-sized businesses some real nuggets of information that might help them save money, improve profits, avoid making some of the mistakes that other businesses that were growing have made. And yeah, I think that technically that's the kind of support that can be offered. And I think that from a coaching perspective, that's clear.
Yeah. Okay, great. And what for you has been exciting or maybe even challenging about stepping into entrepreneurship after corporate life?
I guess whilst you work in corporate life, there's a lot of people driving that business. A lot of money gets spent on marketing. There's a lot of money gets spent in other avenues. I guess when you start on your own, you really do have a blank canvas.
Yes.
I guess that's the stage that I'm at now. So to build a website doesn't generate business. And moving across the Atlantic to a different part of the world with its own challenges in North America, excluding the US, which has some very unique challenges at the moment, I think that presents you with a connection difficulty and certainly an experience in the market difficulty, albeit across all the markets that I looked after in the Europe, Middle East, Africa. Of course, I understand that markets are different. So for me, it's not about having a mono approach to something. In terms of what I'm targeting at the moment, yes, is the Greus Consultancy piece, but also looking at other opportunities that I'm working on at the moment. Some of that in the Caribbean, some of that's here in Canada.
Got it. Okay, great. And I suppose talking about in your work, what does finding flow mean to you? So what does the moment look like when you're in flow in your work?
I guess I guess there's different ways to look at it. I guess for me, a flow status is not when everything is going well and nothing is going wrong and you have lots of
Mm,
free time
yeah,
and the bank balance is doubling and it's doubling again. That's not flow for me. Flow for me is challenge, it's new experience. I feel in a flow state at the moment. And
mm,
not because there's a lot of newness around me, but some people get excited by only having newness, but they don't achieve anything. They just change direction when things get tough and do something else
yeah,
that's new. For me, what I'm working on right now is, since I was a kid, I've always wanted to act, and I'm pursuing an acting career, which I think sits really well with my presenting and my coaching piece. And if I take
yeah,
my life experience, it allows me to get into some level of flow status and reach a character level. So
mm,
I'm working on that with quite a big school in Toronto. They're very well known. I'm setting up and trying to stabilize and open the offer for the Greus Consulting so that I can, as I mentioned before, lean on some of those things that I think I can really assist small, medium, and even large businesses with. And then flow for me would be able to do that wherever I wanted to do it, preferably somewhere warm. I'm
mm,
from Scotland, lived in Amsterdam for a while. It rained a lot,
yes,
lived in Sweden,
yeah,
lived in Finland. It was cold. So
yeah,
I really would like to couple the consultancy business and align it with business solutions, of which I have a few ideas and products. I visited China recently just to secure some product from some factories. So that will then take me to that sort of Caribbean area. So flow to me looks like helping people, being able to pursue an aspiration of acting whilst getting some sun on my back. So that feels like some level of flow for me.
that sounds amazing. And so when you're not working, what are you doing to keep grounded and to keep focused and to keep healthy? How do you maintain such a great level of high performance?
I guess for me, it goes straight back to when I started in retail. So I started in a sports company. I
Yeah.
played a lot of football, did martial arts for a couple of decades. There was only some small period in my life where I wasn't connected in some way to the gym or exercising and
Yeah.
staying healthy. So for me right now, I don't drink, I don't smoke.
Mhm.
I'm in the gym 5 days a week, and at the weekend, I'm running with my lovely wife. So I can't keep up with her, but
Yeah.
I'm out there and I'm pounding the street. So I think it goes hand in hand. I think a healthy mind and a healthy body, a good outlook on life, having that energy that I feel I have. In fact, I probably have more energy now than I did when I was in my 30s. And
Yeah.
that shows, but I think it's what you do every day when no one's looking is
Mhm.
what people see when you're with them. You don't realize
Yeah.
they see it, but they see it, they feel it. And
Yeah.
that comes from everything that you're prepared to do when people are not watching. And it's not easy.
I love that. That's such a good way to put it. Yeah, and I suppose that's all of the questions that I had for you. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I think what you shared is so valuable. I think a lot of people are gonna find a lot of value out of listening to this. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining.
It's my pleasure. Nice to talk to you as always, Kyle.
Yeah, nice to talk to you too as always. And I'll see you next time, John. Goodbye.